The Huawei P40 Pro is the new kid on the camera block, and it's eager to fight in the never-ending camera wars with an imposing new camera system that consists of a gigantic sensor for the main camera as well as a periscope lens that allows it to zoom far and away. We took the opportunity to compare it against two of the finest phones on the market, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra and the Apple iPhone 11 Pro Max, so let's take a look at the photos. One of the main advantages the Huawei P40 Pro has is that periscope lens that allows you to get a clean shot even when you zoom far away. That's exactly what we did here, and we indeed see that the P40 Pro does an excellent job. At 10 times zoom, it captures an image that is practically free of noise, and one that looks good at that. We notice a few minor issues, mostly the photo is a bit underexposed and detail is a bit smudged, but overall, good job. The Galaxy S20 Ultra does well too, but noise is clearly more visible, and the iPhone, though it clearly doesn't belong in the same category as the other two, it lacks a periscope lens and you can tell by the grainy image. Jumping next to 5 times zoom level, the Huawei P40 Pro shows class. The photograph just looks great. The S20 Ultra seems to be just slightly behind, as it has a bit less in terms of detail. The iPhone is again clearly not in the same league. The photo it captured has a bunch of noise and grain and is the one we are least likely to share. And here's the way this scene looked when seen with the main camera on each of the phones. Zooming 10 times is actually quite a lot. The P40 Pro can go all the way to 50 times zoom and the Ultra can go to 100 times zoom, but we found the quality just terrible when you go over 30 times zoom, and those are not photos you want to share with anyone. Now one more example of the way photos look at 10 times zoom. Interestingly, this time the Huawei has captured an overexposed image, as it seems to be struggling a bit with nailing the right exposure. Keep in mind that we had an early unit provided by Huawei and the company may update the camera. The Galaxy S20 Ultra has a lot more in terms of color and appeal, but again it's no match for the Huawei in terms of result detail. The iPhone is just a blurry mess at 10 times zoom. If Apple wants to match the other two in the zoom game, it will need to up the ante. At 5 times zoom you get a well-detailed and clean image from the P40 Pro, but it loses points for the overexposed look as everything basically appears washed out. The Galaxy S20 Ultra has captured the best photo here, with a good amount of color, contrast and overall appeal. The iPhone is still no match for the others at this 5 times zoom level. Let's also take a look at 2 times zoom, and you immediately notice that the dedicated 2 times telephoto lens on the iPhone elevates it to the #1 position here. The other phones use digital zoom all the way until the periscope lens kicks in at exactly 4.7 times zoom for the P40 Pro and at 4 times zoom for the S20 Ultra. The iPhone captures more detail, and the image has very nicely balanced colors that look realistic and appealing. And this is how the same scene looked when shot with the main camera on all the phones. Okay, we have seen that the P40 Pro leads the way with its zoom camera, but what about its main camera, the one that you're likely to be using most of the time? You will immediately notice some things that will repeat in the coming images as well. The exposure is way too bright, colors are a bit on the pale side, with the yellow tonalities way over exaggerated. And detail is also on the soft side on the Huawei P40 Pro, but at least it's not as artificially over sharpened as on the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Now speaking of the S20 Ultra, it has the strongest, most vibrant colors. These are not realistic tonalities. The image you see is larger than life and way too vivid, as if it was already edited. Some people may like this effect, but we find it a bit extreme. The iPhone on its part captures balanced photos with pleasing colors and detail that is neither too soft nor too harsh. Something strange happened without us noticing when we switched to using the ultra-wide camera on the Huawei P40 Pro. It automatically changed the aspect ratio to a different one, 16:9, for a narrower photo. We did not expect that. That's why the photos here appear a bit different. And you won't be surprised by the images and the colors. The Huawei P40 Pro continues the trend with bleaker colors and a slightly overexposed look. It's a specific look that some may like, but objectively it lacks the dynamic range and the depth of color from the other two. And this next ultra-wide angle photo of the beach is one final confirmation. The Huawei P40 Pro tends to capture well-detailed photos with a specific look to them, as colors are slightly washed out and not as saturated. The Galaxy again captures a punchy photo, and finally the iPhone strikes a kind of a balance between these two. Next, this photo was captured at dusk, but it doesn't look like that because all of the phones here do an excellent job and are able to deal with the low light and still get a bright and good looking image. There are a few minor differences, but they're really insignificant, and we would say that all three do a similarly great job in this case. It's a draw. In this next photo, you see some trends starting to emerge. The Galaxy, for example, captures the darkest photo at night, while the other two phones are able to get a lot more light in the frame and look a bit better. As night falls and light gets extremely scarce, we get a good opportunity to see how these phones perform in extreme conditions. We use the automatic settings here on all of the phones, and the P40 Pro is clearly the one that captured the most light and the brightest photo. It's done a great job and we like that image. The other two capture a darker image, especially the Galaxy, where the shadows are very dark and there is barely any detail in them. Using the auto settings again in this next scene, we see that the Huawei captures the most light in this capture as well. The iPhone is a bit behind in terms of amount of light, but it also retains a bit of that orange tint that looks a bit strange, not quite accurate and true to life. Finally, the Galaxy captures the darkest image, again that lacks details in the shadows, and the other two seem to do a better job. In this next shot, there are some clear differences. While the Huawei P40 Pro has captured the most of the sofa at the bottom of the image, its colors are very bleak and could use a lift. The Galaxy seems to capture a more balanced image, while the iPhone captures a very contrasted photo that catches the eye. It's a toss between the Galaxy and the iPhone in this round, with a slight advantage for the iPhone. For this next photo, we manually enabled the night mode on all of the phones to see whether it would make a difference. This is not something that we would do for every image. The Huawei and the Samsung devices take a very long time to capture a photo when using the night mode manually, and waiting so long for every shot is definitely not convenient. Still, you do get a brighter photo with more detail if you have the patience to wait. We also finally captured the selfie at dusk to get an idea how the front camera would do, and the selfie from the Huawei actually stands out from the rest. It's got more detail and looks sharper, while the Samsung and the iPhone look a bit blurry and not as clean. The colors on the Galaxy are also bleak and not particularly exciting, while the iPhone does a better job with warmer, more pleasing tonalities in this shot, but would still judge this one in favor of the Huawei. With all of this, it's time to wrap up. Is the Huawei P40 Pro the new smartphone camera king that we've all been waiting for? Now, it's an absolutely stellar phone if you care about that cool ability to zoom in far and away. It captures more detail than the more expensive S20 Ultra with its periscope camera, which is an achievement worth mentioning. It's got that large sensor also that provides plentiful detail. Images look clean, even at night. One area where we wish Huawei would improve the photos is the color science. Its images often come out overexposed and with colors that look a bit bleak and washed out. Now, the Galaxy S20 Ultra might have lost the zoom battle by a tiny bit, but it's still a great camera that stands out with those strong, saturated colors. Finally, the iPhone, the most conservative camera in this comparison, loses badly when it comes to the zoom battle. But if you take just its main camera that you will be using most of the time, it's an incredibly good performer. It captures well-balanced photos with a great amount of detail and colors that are dynamic and just look beautiful. So which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. My name is Vic, this is PhoneArena, thanks for watching this, and I will see you in the next one.